Hi everyone, in this video I'll discuss two short stories with the same title, written a century apart. One in 1835 in Russia and the other in 1918 in China. Both authors went on to become the giants of their own literature. Nikolai Gogol is considered the pioneer of prose fiction in Russia, long before Tolstoy and Dostoevsky, whose best-known novel, The Dead Souls, I discussed here in two of my Russian literature videos. Le Xun, too, started a literary revolution in China that broke off from classical Chinese literature. In this video, I'll summarize both stories and then discuss some of their themes and how they depicted each country. A Madman's Diary by Le Xun is considered China's first modern short story. It was inspired by a short story of the same title by the Russian author Nikolai Gogol. The short story is written in a diary form and there are a few entries. It belongs to a man who suffers from paranoia or persecution complex, who thinks everyone is somehow against him. He suspects everyone as man-eaters. He keeps a diary throughout the period as he documents people whispering, scheming, staring at him, and plotting to eat him. His brother, who looks after him, is his guardian, but he thinks he is the one who ate their little sister who died at a very young age. The madman suspects that humans have been cannibals for the last 4,000 years. Here's a quote. "With the weight of 4,000 years of cannibalism bearing down upon me, even if I was once innocent, how can I now face real humans?" End quote. At the end, he thinks his days are numbered, and the last entry in the diary is that "save the children," suggesting that some kids have been eaten by men, therefore they should be protected from this savage practice. It's like a zombie prophecy. If you are fed human flesh, you turn into a human-eating monster yourself. At the end, we don't know what happened to the madman himself. When asked by an old friend, his brother claims he has recovered from his illness and is now an official in another city. Scholars have interpreted the story to be a critique of Confucian social structure based on a rigid group hierarchies that cannibalizes individual freedom, hence the idea of cannibalism. The madman represents a new class of individuals who have woken up, thus considered as mad in the eyes of the society that doesn't want individual freedom. An extreme form of individualism is still considered madness in many societies, often referred to as the black sheep, the outcast, the strange, and many more names. The story is also significant in the popularization of a more accessible Chinese writing system. Classical Chinese writing system excluded the majority of citizens from acquiring enough ability to read and write. At the beginning of the 20th century, a new movement began to democratize writing system to allow more people to learn to read and write. Thus came the Baihua writing system, much closer to everyday language. Le Xun was among the first to adapt and champion the new movement. Today, he is considered a pioneer in modern Chinese literature. Okay, now I will summarize Gogol's short story and then discuss how these two stories are similar. Diary of Madman by Nikolai Gogol, published in 1835. It's a bit longer and there are more entries. The entries start in October, then a few in November, and then December, all talking about the narrator, Poprishchin's own infatuation with Sophie, the daughter of his boss, but she not only doesn't notice him, but actively hates him as a total loser. Slowly, his madness becomes more and more apparent as he starts to believe he understands dogs. He recounts letters exchanged between two dogs. Through the dog's letters, he learns that Sophie is engaged to another man, someone much better than him. He also hears the news that a woman has become the ruler of Spain, and he finds it absolutely insane. After this revelation, there is another entry dated the year 2000, 43rd of April, in which he crowns himself as the king of Spain. At some point, he thinks Spain and China are the same country. Towards the end, we find out that he might be, in fact, in an insane asylum, not in Spain. He simply imagines himself to be in Spain. The Grand Inquisitor who tortures him might be someone at the asylum giving him a cold shower. The last scene is very moving as he is put under some sort of physical torture with cold water. He suddenly sees a house in the distance and thinks his mother is sitting by the window. He calls his mother to save him. He calls, "Mother, mother, have mercy on your sick child." Here the story ends. It's incredibly moving at the end. That image of a man calling his mother to save him. Here are a couple of quotes. I think that it's one of the most refined joys of this world to interchange thoughts, feelings, and impressions. Here's another one. I confess I felt deeply troubled when I consider how unusually delicate and insubstantial the moon is. The moon, as everyone knows, is usually made in Hamburg, and they make a complete hash of it. Two things are very clear here. First, the narrator or the madman is under immense pressure from those around him, i.e. bureaucracy of the government. He's always criticized for being incompetent. He feels envy in those with power. His sexual frustration is apparent as the woman he loves sees him as a pathetic man. Inside, he's an ambitious man, thus we see him imagining himself as the king of Spain. He wants to have power and prestige like his boss. But his reality is nothing but misery and defeat. He fantasizes while in despair. He's also seeking approval of others. At the end, he thinks his mother has abandoned him, and that's his last cry for help. But he's a cog in the machine, remains unnoticed and unloved. We see an early Dostoevsky and Kafka, both represented in this story. Also the magical realism of reading letters written by dogs that show up in Bulgakov's novel Master and Margarita, and also is common in Murakami's novels. The two stories share many things in common. Both are narrated by madmen, first person and diary format. Both have dogs as important characters. I guess dogs symbolize outsiders. In a sense, they don't feel they belong to the society they live in. Both ends with the plea to save the child. Clear call to tell them that adult world is dangerous. In one, the man is tortured, and the other, people are eaten. Gogol was writing when Russia was going through a modernization as Western ideas was taking roots in the country after the Napoleonic Wars. This was a time when the Russians were waking up to Western technology and ideologies. The feudal serf system was at its last legs. There were many revolutionary groups and ideas were gathering force, which resulted in 1917 Bolshevik Revolution some 80 years later. Something similar was happening in China in the early 20th century. The country was ravished by the opium trade run by the British and the Dutch and the French, and more Chinese were waking up to the idea of taking control of their country. Both countries had huge socialist influence at the time. Both stories are criticizing the social system. These two stories show how fragile the individual is against the colossus that includes society, culture, history, and traditions. Madness is always individual, while normal is always group. Let that idea sink in. Individuals are mad, while groups are normal. A person alone cannot be normal, but a society can. So these two short stories are cries of individuals repressed by those around them. If you don't conform or repress yourself, rest assured that someone will. Kids are carved into cogs for the government machines or social structure. If you don't fit, you're mad. Simple as that. These two authors have given their voices to two men to tell their stories, however mad they might be. Thank you for watching.